Rolling.
When did you kill the elk that we just ate? The
All
jerky.
right, so I was able to harvest the cow elk this year about 1 week ago exactly. And so that would have been, September 18th maybe.
So we just ate the jerky of an
Yep.
elk that.
Yep. So
Yeah.
in Ellensburg, Washington, it was about 4:30 a.m. Went up to the top of this hill, sagebrush. I'm up there. I don't know that there's elk below me, but I had a good feeling because I'd seen them there days before. As the sun just slowly started to rise, I got my binos out and I could see a herd of maybe 50 or 60 elk down below. And I know
How far away?
They're about 800 yards away at this point, so a little too far for a rifle. I'd been archery hunting all of September up to that point, so I had to shift my mindset into rifle hunting, where like a 300-yard shot with proper stabilization is not like unachievable. It's a pretty good shot. I've shot elk up to 550 yards, but you want them closer, just higher probability, easier kill shot. So they're down below. I know they like to filter up in the morning through this hill that I'm on, and so I'm pretty patient with it. And they're moving, but they're kind of below the crest of the hill, so they're kind of going out of sight. So I reposition myself, and basically they filtered up to about 200 yards from where I was at.
Why do they filter up the hill?
Because down in the morning, they like to go down to the flatlands or in the middle of the night, and they graze, and there's more food for them down there. And then at midday, they like to go up higher to safety usually.
Okay.
So,
and probably warmer up there? Or does that not make a difference?
I don't know if the warmth makes a difference, but it's safer up there for them. So
Safer versus what?
there's down below. I mean, there's the elk like to get to like these benches. So like a hillside may have a little spot where it kind of flattens out a little bit, and then they can look from above down below. So if any predators are coming or any people, they're going to have to come up the hill and they'll be alerted early. And then above them, the hill, it would be pretty difficult to get up above them because you'd have to like circle them. So they feel safe on the sides of like big hills on these little benches. But I'm up on top of this hill and I see them coming my way, so it's a perfect setup. I'd been up there basically the previous 2 days and the elk hadn't come by me.
Were you camped up there?
No, I would just go up there at about 4:30 a.m.
And then back to the ranch?
And back to the ranch. And so this is now 17 days of consecutive elk hunting. And finally, these elk are coming up my way. And I'm like, okay, this could be it. So the herd filters by at 200 yards. And I get my gun on a tripod and it's nice and stable. But I've never had this issue before where you're elk hunting, it's usually hard to get close to the elk and get one that you have a shot at. Well, there's so many of them that it was almost overwhelming because they're overlapping and I don't want to shoot and have bullet go through one, hit another one. So now I'm like, well, this is a weird issue. There's too many elk. So they're going by me and I'm like, okay, be patient, wait for the shot. And at one point, a cow, female elk, cow elk, isolated herself and she was by herself, or at least separated from the herd. And so 200-yard shot, basically slow trigger squeeze, really clean break, and boom, gun goes off. Gun recoils a little bit. I get back in the scope to see where she's at. I don't see her, but there's 3 elk. They're kind of running around in a circle around where she was at. So I'm like, shit, did I miss? Right? And the 3 elk are running around, and I'm looking at them through the scope, and I don't see like a bullet hole, wound, anything, right? But I'm like, it felt like a good shot. And I can't just send another one because what if I hit her and then now there's 2 elk that are dead if I shoot again, right? So the elk get kind of spooked and they come up the hill. They don't know where I'm at. The gunshot kind of echoed through the canyon. And so now they're like 50 yards from me. There's a whole herd. They're all running around like the bulls are screaming and the cows are all making noise and it's just chaos. The whole time I'm looking past them to see like, man, is she on the ground down there? Or did I miss? Like, what happened? I can't see her, but I was not willing to take the risk of shooting another one, having her be dead down there. So the elk filter by.
Well, what do you mean risk of shooting another one?
Well, you can only shoot 1 elk.
Okay, I see.
So
I see,
in the chance that I hit her,
you can't take a provisional.
Exactly. You can't take it. There's no go backs, so no provisionals. So the elk filter by, and my dad gets on the phone. He heard the gunshot. He's down below. And he's like, did you hit him? I'm like, I don't know what happened. I think I shot one, but I don't see any elk down there. So I wander around down below, and sure as shit, she's dead. Basically, what happened is I just shot her, and she just folded instantly.
On the spot.
Just on the spot, hit the ground like a bag of rocks, and behind a sage bush. So she was down there kind of hidden, and then the fun starts. You've got to get her out of there, get all of it packed
Take me through
out.
getting her out of there.
So normally, if you're way back in the mountains, you're gonna have to quarter them up, which means gut them, skin them, take apart their rear quarters, their front
Right
quarters,
there.
right there where she lays. Put it in your backpack and kind of do a shuttle back and forth to the truck or wherever you're camped at. And
How heavy is like each load that
each
you're
quarter
taking?
probably weighs around 80 pounds. So if you just do one, you got an 80-pound pack. If you try to double up, like you're pushing 100-something pounds, which is a little heavy. But depending on how far you're going, it's manageable. In this scenario, it was nice because there was a guy we knew down below who had a four-wheeler. So this is like the dream scenario. Just get the four-wheeler, drove it up there, chained her up, and dragged her all the way back down to the bottom where we don't have to haul her very far.
And you can cut her up right there.
Yeah. And from that point, get back to the ranch, and then spend the next 2 days, 3 days actually processing it. So butchering the whole thing out, grinding it, making burger, making steaks, making jerky like you just tried.
Yeah.
So that's it's a labor of love, but it's a long process.
Since you've been hunting, do you have any ritual or like is there any way of respect after like killing the animal?
So I see a lot of guys on Instagram will take an animal and the first thing they'll do is kind of like film themselves going up to it, and then go right into like picture taking mode. For me, once I find the animal, at least what I've been doing naturally that I haven't thought too much about, go up to them, they're dead, stone dead, and usually I put my hand on them and just say like a little blessing of sorts, like thank you for this opportunity, for this harvest. And then my mindset is always like, I appreciate like the meat I'm gonna get from you, and allow me to use the energy that I'm gonna get from the meat to maximize my life. And I think a lot of times you get steaks from the store, burgers from McDonald's, whatever the case is, you're so disconnected from the animal that you consume those calories, and then there's no obligation to go out and to run or to lift weights or to just like use that energy to the fullest. When it's an elk and you shot that thing and you see the sacrifice the animal made for you, you just feel this obligation to use that energy to live your life in a different way. And so I always feel like a little bit more, after I'll have like an elk steak or burger or whatever, I'll feel more obligated to really go out and like attack that day, if that makes any sense. Or at the end of the day, if you have a good day, you work out, you run, whatever the case is, you go on a hike, and then you have that steak at the end of the day, it's a whole different feeling of like, I'm recovering now. I'm using the steak to recover. It's hard to describe.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
There's definitely more of a connection to the food you're eating. Same as if you had a garden.
I think about it with like eggs.
Yep.
Whenever I eat like chicken eggs and I see like those super caged up eggs that you see at the store, and it's like, well, you're taking on the DNA of whatever you're eating. So if I'm taking on the DNA of this frightened chicken that was like in a coop with it, how do you think I'm gonna feel once I eat it? Same thing with when I think about you eating an elk, or like you killed that bear and we had the bear tallow.
Yeah.
I'm not killing it, but like I know who killed it, and it's like I know the process that you went through to get that tallow or that meat or that jerky, whatever it is.
So the bear tallow is cool because I still have it, and I made these chapsticks out of it.
Oh dang!
So I bought these chapstick tubes, and then
bear tallow chapstick.
Then I mixed, after I rendered down all the bear tallow, and I have like the pure form which you can cook with and everything. I mix it with a little bit of beeswax and then vitamin E oil for your skin, and just a little bit of lavender or whatever other scent.
You can really put it anywhere.
You can put it anywhere, but when you put it in these tubes, then you have like this super high vitamin E, high fat chapstick that is like the best possible chapstick you could have versus some petroleum-based stuff. And so I really try to use every part of the animal, but I have like 50 of those tubes.
You should have brought one for
I
me.
know. I'm sorry I didn't, but at least I brought the jersey.
I remember when you brought the bear tallow back, and I had a rash or something, and I put the bear tallow on the rash. It was at your house.
Yeah.
It was after we did maybe the jiu-jitsu class or something.
Yeah.
And we got back and we took the bear tallow and put it on the rash, and it was literally gone 10 seconds later.
It's funny, talking about eggs is interesting because this year a friend of mine showed me this trick that he does when we went on a fishing trip, like 5 days in the backcountry. I brought a lot of like processed foods, freeze-dried foods, Snickers bars, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
this guy shows up and we're eating trout that we're catching from the lake. And then for breakfast, I look over and I'm making like oatmeal, you know.
Your processed grain.
He has duck eggs, hard boiled. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. He thinks the duck eggs, they last a lot longer unrefrigerated than chicken eggs. And so, and you know, a duck egg's a little bit bigger. So I'm like, okay, so the next time my dad and I go on this elk hunt, September 7th, 5 days unsupported in the backcountry. It was like a 5 or 6 mile hike to get it back there. And our packs probably weighed around.
Did you kill an elk on this trip?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Had a lot of good chances, but one thing we did is we went to the local farmer's market, got a bunch of duck eggs, a dozen, so each of us have 6. And in the morning, instead of having some processed food, cracking 2 duck eggs, a little salt and pepper on them is just such a better way to start your day.
Clean.
And it's kind of a luxury that you have up there instead of, you know, eating oatmeal or whatever the fact. So.
Well, everywhere else in the world, they don't even refrigerate their eggs.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, like, dang, what are we putting on our eggs where they have to be refrigerated?
So when the chickens lay the egg, they initially don't need to be refrigerated, but when they go through a cleaning process, it dissolves this kind of membrane that's on the outside of the shell that keeps them like sealed to some degree. So with the duck eggs, they seem to, I had them up to a week and no foul odor, taste, nothing like that.
Hard boiled.
So, hard boiled.
Yeah.
But if you were to get them from the farmer's market, you could just have them on your countertop for probably quite a while, no problem. Not refrigerated.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of difference in the refrigeration from, like, at least in Germany being there for so long. There's a lot of differences in what we refrigerate versus what they don't refrigerate. And, I mean, people talk about it all the time, but, like, there's a huge difference in the bread quality. It's nuts. Just the way you feel. Like, I even had farmer's market pasta here. Mm-hmm. And then I had it 2 days ago, and then yesterday I felt like tired all day. And I don't really eat a lot of pasta.
Sure.
And I really think it was because I ate like that pasta. But we were just in Italy eating like pasta or pizza, and you feel fine. It's like eating a steak here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When I was in Winthrop for a deer hunt September 1st, I went to
Is this the first deer you killed this season?
first elk. So no deer this year, unfortunately. We had a good chance at
Is there
one.
a big difference in the meat quality between elk and
meat
deer?
quality is the same. The meat flavor is a little different, and then obviously the elk is probably 4 times larger
Bigger,
than a deer.
yeah.
So it's a lot more meat you're getting off it. But in Winthrop, I went to the Mazama store, which is this little like local store there, and they make a ton of baked goods. 2 baguettes, and then hauled ass up in the mountains, and ripping off a piece of baguette, like homemade in the mountains, is another luxury. That it's like these things, duck eggs, baguettes, they weigh a little bit more than, you know, a freeze-dried meal or oatmeal or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just such a morale boost to have good food when you're up there. Especially like you can put peanut butter on it, or when we were up there was tons of huckleberries.
Ooh.
So for 45 minutes, pick huckleberries, mash them all up, huckleberry jam on a freaking baguette. It's like insane. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah, the process of like, same with the garden. Like
Yep.
you're seeing the origin of the food. That's what gets so lost now.
So yeah, it was.
You gonna try and kill another bear soon?
I had a chance at a bear this year in the Glacier Peak Wilderness area, that fishing trip I was on, but I brought my rifle with me. But we were so far back we were so far from a trail over like 2 different mountain ridges and probably 4 miles of off-trail hiking plus another 4 miles of on-trail hiking, that when I saw this bear, it was within rifle range and it was a healthy bear. But the thought of like what it would take to get that out of there, it would be a multi-day process, and with the heat you might deal with some meat loss because you're on a timer once you have them on the ground to get them out in a certain period of time before the heat starts to affect
Was
the
this
meat.
solo?
This was with a friend.
Oh, okay.
So it was a good fishing trip, but had a chance at a bear, ended up not taking that bear just with the logistics of getting out of there. And also I was just, sometimes the moment is right and sometimes it's not. Like we were up there fishing, having a good time, and then if we shoot that bear, everything changes. It's 100% like, okay, new mission, get this bear off this hill, out of here. And bears are tough to work with. It's their hide's thick, they have a lot of fat.
That's why you can get so much tallow from them.
You can, yeah. And
You get a lot of
so-
tallow from elk?
No, so elk fat and deer fat doesn't render down the same way as like a domesticated, like a steer does. So when you cook a steak and it has marbling, you're gonna have, you put it in the pan, it's gonna render down, right? Like you could even take steak fat and dice it up and throw it in a pan, it'll kind of turn into like oil, right?
Yeah, you can 100%.
Elk and deer fat is different where it's really waxy and it won't render down. So when you make an elk steak, you actually trim off all that fat. Otherwise, it will kind of taint the flavor and the texture of the meat. That's why deer, elk, other game animals, antelope, it's going to be really, really lean meat because there's none of that intermuscular marbling like you have on a steak, and then two, you're trimming off the fat that's on the outside of the steak because of the texture, which is
That's why you can eat it super rare.
yeah, exactly. You can eat the meat super rare because you're not trying to. If you eat a steak super rare, you're gonna have that kind of chewy fat.
Yeah.
Unless you cook it really low and slow. So yeah, you can cook it rare, but the fat is not as good to consume. That's why the pioneers, early days, Lewis and Clark, fur traders, people like that, bears were the most prized game animal because the fat, you could do so much with it. You could cook with it, and also you need fat to survive. And so when you're eating really lean game animals that don't have much fat,
Multi-purpose versus like singular purpose.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so you need that fat. It's the same way as, if you ever watch the show Alone, they're always in a struggle for fat. Even if you kill a bunch of rabbits, if you're not getting fat, if you're only eating protein, you're still gonna lose weight. You're still gonna eventually starve. Actually. So you could eat 100%. You could eat a chicken breast every day.
You could also use that fat as like a Vaseline to put over your body in the cold, right?
Yep. So you have, bears have such an abundance of usage.
That Lewis and Clark book, Undaunted Courage, he talks about they're going up the Missouri River and they're meeting all these Indians, and the Indians are telling them, because like at this time, I don't think they had called them like bears.
Okay.
Or the Indians didn't know that they were bears. They just called it like big animal. That's why like some of the names of supposedly places in Washington are like Snake River.
Sure.
Like it looks like a snake to them. That's how they name things. So it's like, all right, watch out for these beasts that like you're gonna run into. And Lewis is writing in his journal, and he's like, well, they don't have guns. Like we have guns. Like I'm not scared of a bear. And then like a few days later, he's writing in his journal. He's like, that's the scariest thing I've ever come across in my life. And the quantity of bears that they were running into, all day, every day, you're like looking around for a grizzly bear.
Yep.
And actually, at one point in the book, he talks about, because you have to obviously to reload your rifle back then, shoot like gunpowder, like reload the whole thing. He shoots, and then he's running, reloading, and he goes into the middle of this creek that's like up to his knees. So like, a bear could that's like their territory. And he writes that the bear stopped on the edge of the creek and like stared at him and then ran off. But he would have been dead.
And grizzly bears are a whole different animal because we have black bears in Washington now.
Have you ever seen a grizzly bear?
I've only seen signs of grizzly bear when I was in Montana. I've never seen one in person, but I've been in areas where I know there's grizzly bears around, and it's a whole different feeling. Black bears are for the most part scared of humans unless maybe there's cubs involved. Where grizzlies, they are far more aggressive, way bigger.
Why is that? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure what it comes down to. They're more carnivorous than black bears are. Black bears are still carnivores.
They eat a lot of berries, though.
They eat mostly berries. They will kill small deer from time to time, but mostly they're focused on berries. Where grizzly bears are carnivorous animals, and so humans, especially back in the days of Lewis and Clark, they probably saw us and just they had no reason to fear us at that time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and even those rifles they're shooting back then, like, dude, that's a little like.
So yeah, they're shooting
Flick to a bear.
A big ball out of this muzzleloader, and it's not going very fast. And then we're looking at the Indians thinking, oh, well, they have bow and arrows, we have rifles. Well, the bow and arrow, you can reload and you can shoot an arrow every like 2 seconds maybe if you're good. The rifle, you shoot and it's like, what, 30 seconds, a minute before you get a follow-up shot. By that time, I mean, the bear's either going to be dead, run away, or have mauled you. It's not like you really get one shot. You know, have you ever seen The Revenant?
Oh yeah.
The Revenant
Yeah,
does a good job, I think, of depicting like how gruesome and how powerful that animal
Yeah,
is. You
yeah,
know,
I think
like
about
where
that
it's like
scene.
you're completely hopeless if you're dealing with a grizzly bear.
That's crazy.
So it's
Where are grizzly bears most prevalent in Washington?
there's grizzly bears now in far northeastern Washington, like maybe on the border of Canada. They're not in the southern
Do people
part of the
go grizzly
Cascades.
bear hunting?
No, you're not allowed to shoot a grizzly bear.
Oh, okay.
So,
Just black bears.
Just black bears.
Yeah.
And the grizzly bear, they're trying to introduce grizzly bears in the Cascades. It's kind of like a controversial conservation movement going on. You know, there's a lot of people for it, a lot of people against it. It's a cool idea to have grizzly bears back in the mountains where they once were, but then you're dealing with like, okay, you know, there's people who are used to hiking around where there's black bears, and now if there's going to be grizzly bears, you're going to have to start carrying bear spray, weapons, you know, because people will get taken out every year if there's grizzly bears up in the mountains. So it's an interesting concept, but
Dang.
there's a sense of safety you can get in the mountains now where you're like, okay, I'm up here in the Cascades. For the most part, I know there's nothing that's really gonna mess with me. You know, you may run into a bear and you're probably being watched by a cougar, but most of those animals aren't gonna attack humans like on any sort of consistent basis. But if there's grizzly bears, like when I'm out in Montana, you really gotta keep your head on a swivel because
You seen cougars in the wild?
I have never seen a cougar in the
But they're
wild.
watching you think?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of cougars, and I guarantee if you spend enough time in the woods, you've been watched by a cougar.
But they're just more so making sure that you don't see them?
They're so elusive and highly nocturnal that the odds that you see a cougar, even like out by my grandpa's cabin on the Columbia River in northeastern Washington, I have trail cameras out there where I have pictures of cougars in places that are very common that we are walking around or hunting at, but I've never seen one. But I have pictures of them, so they're there.
Yeah,
but
they're
the
around.
moment they're just so tuned in that they're so elusive. They camouflage so well. They're so stealthy. I mean, they're apex predators, and they just, if they don't want to be seen, they don't get seen. I mean, if they can avoid the hypersensitive vision of a deer and able to stalk in to kill a deer, then they can definitely avoid you when they're not even trying to stalk in and get close to you. So, yeah, there's cougars out there. Haven't had any crazy run-in, no crazy wildlife run-ins this year. I was probably 20 yards from a bull elk at least 5 times this year with my bow, but it was really thick and I was never able to get a clean shot through the timber. But that is something that gets your heart going.
A bull elk?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because you're bugling at them, so during mating season they scream at you and they're basically territorial and they'll let out a bugle, which is like a super high-pitched guttural noise that is like, no kidding, will send shivers down your spine. When you do that back at them, if it's the right time of year and they're in the mood, they'll get territorial with you and they'll think you're kind of challenging them. They'll come running right in to fight you. So multiple times this hunting season, I have my bow, my dad has a bugle, and I'll go up in front of him a little bit so when the elk comes in, he's not looking for me, he's looking back past me to where my dad is, thinking that's where the elk's at. But this bull will come in, you'll hear him raking his antlers on the trees and coming through like grunting and pissed off and just scraping and grunting and groaning, and he comes in, and when he's 20 yards away and you're looking at a 1,000-pound elk with antlers that are 6 feet long screaming at you, and all you have is a bow and arrow and you're standing there, I mean, no kidding, the first few times this year it happened, every year it's like an adrenaline rush and you slowly get used to it if you have multiple chances. First time, my heart's pounding out of my chest. At one point, we wake up about 5 a.m. And one strategy is you can send out a bugle when it's still dark out and listen to see, okay, there's one that bugled back over down in that drainage or up on top of this hill. And that gives you kind of a starting point for the day of which direction to go. Well, we let out a bugle.
Would you rather take the one that's higher elevation or lower?
So in the morning you want to hunt uphill because the thermals are usually coming downhill. So the wind direction in the morning is almost always downhill. And in the evening or afternoon, as the sun comes out and starts to heat up the forest, the wind starts to go uphill.
Okay.
And it's not so much as a wind, but like a air direction going.
Is this
uphill.
because of the direction of the arrow that you want to shoot?
No, it's all about the elk's ability to smell you. So if the wind's coming down the hill gently and he's up high and you're coming up at him, you're not going to be at risk of getting winded, which is like when they smell you. So you'd rather hunt uphill in the morning. But this morning we wake up at 5, we blow our bugle, and we hear there just happened to be a bull elk like 100 yards away right next to our campsite. And it sounds like a bulldozer coming through the woods. I'm like, holy shit, there's one coming right at us. He was so close, he didn't even bother responding with a call. He just started tearing through the brush. So I hear what sounds like a bulldozer coming through the woods. I'm in my long john still with like a puffy coat on. I just got it out of my sleeping bag. So I grab my bow and my release and I knock an arrow. And it's still dark out. And I run up a little bit, 50 yards from the campsite, and I'm standing there. And we know we have to slow play it because we got to wait for it to get light. Well, as it slowly gets light, my dad's talking back and forth to this bull.
And the bugle is signifying that there's another male elk in the area?
Another male elk in his territory who's kind of challenging him to a fight.
Oh, that's what it signifies.
So he's like
come see me.
He's like, get out of here, man. This is my zone. So that's why he's coming in all aggressive and pissed off. So it slowly starts to get light, and out at the corner of my eye, I see a flash. It's just like a little bit of elk hide and an antler. I'm like, oh shit, he's right here. So I turn, and by that time when I look, he's already coming down at me, and he stops 20 yards away.
You're looking at him head on, or you're looking at him? He's
coming this way, broadside, across, and then he turns.
Okay.
And now I'm looking at him head on. 20 yards, and I'm just having to stare down with this elk. I have my arrow, my bow.
Is the best place to shoot there, like in the chest?
No, so you want to shoot them when they're you can shoot them in the chest, but if they're facing sideways, that gives you a good shot behind their shoulder through both their lungs.
Cleaner, yeah, okay.
And if you hit them right there, usually about 30 to 40 seconds they're on the ground.
Okay.
I mean, it's a super quick kill if you send the arrow through both their lungs, and the arrow has so much speed that oftentimes it will actually go right through the elk.
What's the velocity of the arrow?
About 300, 320 feet per second.
Oh, feet per second.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it weighs about 450 to 500 grain, depending on like what type of arrow you're shooting.
Okay.
But you can get them heavier or lighter, but 300, 3-something feet per second. But usually that arrow, good shot, will
300 feet per second.
Yeah, it will zip right through them.
So a football field in a second.
Yeah, I mean, I can shoot 100 yards, and it's usually about a second. So.
Okay, yeah, that's cooking.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's moving pretty good. And there's a lot of energy. I mean, it's an immense amount of energy, enough to just go right through the animal and stick into a tree on the other side like a laser beam. So anyway, this elk is 20 yards away. Have an arrow on my bow. My release is clipped in, and I'm just having to stare down with him. I can't draw the bow because that movement would frighten him. So he sees me. I don't think he knows exactly what I am. He's looking for an elk.
Still dark?
Just starting to get light. He's looking for an elk, but he comes around the corner and he sees me. And I don't have any camouflage. I'm wearing long johns and a puffy coat, like an outdoor research silver puffy jacket. And he's like, what is this thing that's standing here? I'm not moving a muscle. So I have at first my heart's racing, and then I realize the predicament I'm in. I can't draw my bow and shoot because he's going to take off with the movement. So I'm hoping maybe he just ignores me and keeps walking by, and then when his eyes cross behind a tree, that would be my opportunity to draw and make a shot. And after a while, my nerves calm down, and then I'm like, just enjoying the moment. I'm having to stare down with this elk, and I look at him eye to eye for probably a minute at 20 yards. And he's just snorting and grunting. I can hear him breathing, and so.
You could see like the The evaporation of his like breath going through the air.
His back is steaming because he's sweating so much and it's still cold
yeah.
out. And so I'm just like, oh my God, this is an animal that could kill you in a second if it decided to. And I'm just having to stare down with it. And eventually he turns, and I'm hoping that he turned enough that I can draw my bow without him seeing me, but their eyes are on the side of their head. So he still could see me draw my bow in the peripheral of his vision. And at that point, he kind of darted off, and he stopped again, but he was behind some trees. And so that elk I never ended up getting a shot at, and I probably had 4 or 5 other opportunities that were very similar to that one, where the elk comes in, I'm at full draw, ready to make a shot, and there's just too much brush or foliage in the way, and you really need a clean path for your arrow to make an accurate shot. And if that arrow hits a branch or even some leaves, it can deflect off, and you don't want a bad shot at an animal like that. So, but being up there and having those opportunities this year is super cool.
That's crazy. I can imagine the evaporation coming off the animal.
Yeah,
That's
you
nuts.
can. I mean, hearing him breathe. I mean, you're talking about.
How long was that whole thing? That whole event?
About probably 40 minutes long.
But how did it feel? Quick or slow?
That's a good question. I mean, you're so focused that it goes by really fast. But when I was staring at him, that's when the time slowed down, and it was like, man, this is crazy.
And when you think back on it and you recollect on it, do you see it super clearly, or is it more so like fragments of moments that went by?
Yeah, definitely fragments of moments, because there's so many thoughts going through your head. You know, I mean, I've been hunting. This is the second to last day of the season, so I've been hunting for 2 weeks straight, every single day, miles and miles of hiking a day, calling.
Your nervous system is kind of attuned to this type of like survival state that you're in.
And so it's with that long of a hunt, all of a sudden when something does happen, you have an opportunity, it's like, oh my gosh, this is my chance, and you get so excited, and then you have to calm yourself down. So I think because of how excited I am about the elk coming in, that it did kind of fragment my attention in the moment a little bit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Dang. You guys were catching trout?
Yeah, so we usually bring a fishing pole with us because the hunting's really good in the morning and then sometimes in the evening. But midday, like 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, there's not a whole lot to do. The elk are going to be on a hillside, bedded down somewhere in the shade, chilling out. You're not going to get them coming in to calls, and even if you stumble upon them, they're probably going to hear you, see you, or smell you coming. So there's not much sense in just like rampaging through the woods all day. So we'll bring a fishing pole and go catch trout. And
catch any salmon?
We're in Alpine Lake, so it's just trout up there.
Oh, you're in a lake.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we were at maybe 5,000 to 6,000 feet elevation.
Okay,
but,
nice.
Yeah, catch trout. Sometimes cook them up, sometimes don't.
Oh, sometimes you just throw them back?
Yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes it's just too long of a process to deal with messing them, cleaning them out, cooking them, But.
Yeah. How big are the trout you're catching out of there?
I caught a couple 16 to 18-inch trout this year. Most of the trout are going to be a couple years old, so maybe 10 to 12 inches or smaller.
Dude, that reminds me when I went to Portugal, and I wanted to go fishing back because I was in Split, Croatia, which is a port town, and I'm like, there's got to be someone that is taking charters out to fish.
Sure.
I found like one company that was doing it. I needed to find another person to go with. I couldn't find another person, so I didn't end up going. But then I go to Lagos, Portugal, which is on the beach again. I'm like, dude, I want to go fishing. I want someone to take me out. I want to catch some like sharks or like go big game fishing. And so I find this place. It's crazy how hard it is to find like fishing companies. There was like not a lot. So I find this place, and I think I had signed up like, we're going to go like multiple miles off the shore.
Okay, deep sea fishing.
Deep sea fishing. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, hell yeah. And we show up, and the dude's like, yeah, fish aren't going to bite, so we're just going to go like catch little like bottom feeders. So we went like, I don't know, maybe a mile or two off the shore, and we just sat there and caught bottom feeders for like a couple hours, which is like, it's fun.
Any good ones?
No, you weren't catching anything.
So
that
you're
big.
just bouncing some sort of jig on the bottom
Yeah.
and waiting, and then just
Yeah,
gonna-
and like they're in a hot spot, so we're catching them like almost every cast, but they're like little 8 inches. Like they're.
Are you keeping these fish?
So he said we could keep them, but we'd have to clean them and cook them. And
Okay.
everyone's on vacation, so it's
Yeah,
like,
so you're like, great,
like,
we have no capacity to do
dude,
that.
what are we talking about? And I guess I was the only one that thought we were catching. I called my mom. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go try and catch a shark or like a tuna. We did see tuna fish, like schools of tuna fish
Really?
around us, like jumping and shit.
But he's like, they're not gonna bite.
No, he's like, they're not gonna bite. But
Hell of a
that
guy.
was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It was like early in the morning, these tuna fish are just out there like jumping all around, and you could see them
Yeah.
almost like 360, and it's like cool because they'll jump and then they'll swim down for, I don't know, a couple 100 yards, and then they'll pop out over here.
Yeah.
And they're swarming because you can see the swarm of fish that they're like corralling around to go eat. But anyways, we catch these bottom feeders all day. And that's what made me think of it. I thought we were catching sharks, and I literally went out there. I got a sick shirt from it.
Nice.
But the guys, as we get back, and one of the guys I was with was like, "All right, so like, you guys gonna cook them up? We're gonna eat them." He's like, "Oh no, you can take them if you want, but like, you're gonna have to cook them and clean them." It's like, dude, I'm at a hotel, like, just in your room, like,
Yeah.
saucing it up. So that was the only time I got to go fishing out this year. I don't think in Germany, I mean, hunting is like, I think it's more of a luxury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking to these Polish guys when I was in West Virginia.
There were some stands. I would go hiking, and I would see some stands.
It's
out
a
and
lot
about.
of like private land access.
Yep.
There's more restrictions on it. More difficult to get a license. More difficult
It's
to get
really
a gun.
It's really difficult to get fishing licenses there.
Really?
Like, even if you're fishing, right now we could grab some poles and go fish off at the pier, and like, no one cares.
Yeah.
To fish in a river there, just to pull up your car, like if someone pulls up on you, you better have a license. You can't just go buy a rod at Dick's Sporting Goods and like just go out there. It's super serious. And to have a stand, one of the guys on our team, his girlfriend's family was super wealthy, and like that's like a hunting, you know,
Yeah.
like old school hunting where
Yeah.
like you had to have some money to go do it. Yeah, it's way different.
When I was in Key West during dive school, we were doing a lot of scuba diving, and it was super cool. There was a couple times where I'm underwater and schools of tarpon swim by, and I'd never seen a tarpon before. I know that people catch them, and I know that they're like a protected species. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to release them.
Pretty big.
But they're monstrous. I mean, they were 5 or 6 feet long.
Oh.
Like as big as I am. So
Wow.
we're swimming in crystal clear water, and a school of tarpon come by. At first I thought it was sharks. And that was one of the coolest like fish experiences I've ever had, seeing those tarpon, because I know that guys will go out and hook into those things and fight them for like hours on end.
Dang. You ever spearfished?
Yeah, so we actually spearfished a stingray when we were down there. A buddy of mine, we had these sling spears, which are a long pole spear with a 3-prong on the front that are sharpened. And
How do you fire those?
so they have a bungee cord at the end, and you stretch the bungee cord out as you grip towards the front of the spear, and then to fire it, you basically release your grip on the spear while keeping your grip on the bungee cord. And it will shoot it not very far. It's mostly like maybe 5-6 feet of range from the tip of the spear. But he shoots this stingray with it and hits it pretty good, and this thing takes off, and it's like dragging him through the water. So we're like, oh shit. So he like has to let go of it because it's dragging him down. So we watch it, and we keep an eye on where it's going. It still has a spear stuck in it, and we swim down after a while and shoot it again. So we end up hauling out this stingray that's probably, 4 feet long and 3 feet wide. And we grilled that thing up. It was an interesting texture. It was like white.
Calamari-ish?
It was kind of chewy. It was similar to like, it looked like chicken in like where it has strands of muscle fiber, but it was very white and chewy. But we smoked it on the grill, and we actually diced it up and had some stingray tacos down there.
That's sick.
But then I went down.
You have to be careful when you shoot in the water like that predators can like smell the...
I'm sure you're supposed to, but I never had any run-ins with sharks
You
while I
didn't
was
see any sharks?
there. No,
Okay.
luckily. I'm going to be.
Australia, they talk about being careful. Australia's got everything that'll kill you.
It's insane.
They have these blue bottle jellyfish. You ever heard of a blue bottle jellyfish? They're like small, they're like that big, but like one sting and you're pretty much like paralyzed in like less than 30 minutes. And they're all over. Blue bottle jellyfish, and there's one other thing that everyone was talking about on the sand, and you step on them and the poisonous like spikes come up, and again, like you got like 30 minutes to go get some help. But I've never seen an ocean so, violent's not the word, but like I went to this place called Bell's Beach in Australia, and they basically tell you like don't even go up to your knees, because like the wake, the drag out is like you're gonna get pulled out. And so I went up to like my ankles, and I'm just standing there, and we go in the ocean out here, and you could obviously when you go in any ocean, you feel like the force of like you're in something much bigger than yourself. And that ocean was like, oh, if I go up any higher, it's literally gonna like just pull, like lasso me out to the ocean. And the sound of the waves are massive. But it's crazy, and they talk a lot about the sharks out there, especially in like northwestern in Perth is like crazy shark country. So I didn't go in the water much. I went in the water, we went on Great Ocean Road, and I went in the water. I got stung by a jellyfish.
Have you heard of a Portuguese man of war?
No.
They're these little weird, I don't know if they're a jellyfish or what type of creature they actually are, but they float on like the surface of the water mostly.
In Portugal?
I don't know if they're from Portugal or wherever they're at, but we're learning about these things while we're scuba diving in Florida.
Oh, yeah?
And then I'm going for lobsters. And I take this paddleboard out, and I'm, swimming down and getting lobsters and grilling them up. And then I look on the map.
You taking the paddleboard out? Are you in full scuba outfit?
No, I was actually free diving. So just using the paddleboard as like a base station while I dive down and get these lobsters.
How far down are they?
At the time, I could hold my breath for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, actually. So I was going down like, 30, 40 feet.
Dang, okay.
Some of them are closer to the surface, 20 feet of water.
Yeah,
but
sick.
It was pretty fun. Anyway, I look on my phone and I'm like reading. I remember we were learning about these man of war. If they sting you, you're pretty much screwed unless you like get medical help or whatever. I'm looking, I'm like, I was just swimming in Man of War Harbor. It's like the bay called like Man of War Bay or something. I was like, shit, maybe I was at risk or something. But the ocean's weird. There's a lot of shit that will mess you up pretty good.
Yeah, it's very true.
But in Australia, everything on the land will also mess you up.
Yeah, we saw a koala, and they're not gonna mess you up.
They got crazy. They got crazy insects, crazy snakes.
Yeah, the kangaroo, whatever they do.
reptile.
Yeah, they do. I never saw one while we were out there. Like we went hiking and we drove Great Ocean Road, and I never saw any like crazy animals or crazy spiders.
Did you ever go towards the center of the country, like?
No, where like the Aboriginals are and stuff. No. This year when I go out there, I think because last year we had that month off, and I went to Bali for a couple weeks. This year I think we're gonna have another month off, and you get a car when you go out there. So this year I'm thinking, in my head, I want to drive up the eastern seaboard from like Melbourne up to like Sydney. And there's just towns all along that you can chill at. But the center, everyone talks about the center being very dangerous in terms of like the Aboriginals will pull your car over and basically just hold you hostage.
What's the relationship like between the Aboriginals and the Australians in the city, for example?
I don't think.
Is it like we just let them do their own thing and we do our own thing?
I think it's basically like we give them the center of the country and then we don't really like mess with them. They're not in society at all.
Completely isolated.
It's completely isolated. They're like their own. They're dangerous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think they abide by like the laws of Australia.
What about, don't they do like safaris and stuff where you go out and you go around the middle of Australia taking like cool off-road cars and looking at wildlife and stuff?
Yeah, you probably can. I've never driven through the center of Australia. It's also, Australia is a giant.
Massive.
Yeah, it's giant. It's almost, you put America and Australia over each other, they're like pretty similar sizes. So to drive through the center would be like going from Florida to like Washington. It's like, that's a long ways of like not a lot of help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're way out there.
Yeah, you better have something that you can fend off with, or you better hope your car doesn't break down. But I think we're gonna have another month off, so I'll see what I get up to there. I want to explore around Australia more.
Did you like Australia or Germany more?
Oh, Australia.
Yeah, I had
for
a feeling you were
sure.
gonna
Australia's
say that.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except when you're out there, it is like, everywhere's an island in a sense, but there's not a lot of like, you could say resources, but like when you're in Australia, you're only in Australia. We're in America, we could drive up to Canada in 3 hours.
Sure.
You could drive down to Mexico in 2 days. Australia, you only have Australia. Germany, you can drive to 7 different countries in like a couple hours.
Yeah.
But Australia's sick. I like the culture out there. They're just savages. Like you think about the history of Australia and how they got sent out to this like basically island in the middle of the water and like exiled.
Okay, let me ask you this. So when you're in Germany, you're talking about very rule-oriented. Like now, we jaywalk here and no one say anything about it. But you jaywalk, they might be like, hey man, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's a stoplight.
Yeah.
In Australia,
the rules are a
they're
suggestion.
reckless.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
the
that.
rules are a suggestion, which is super noticeable when you play sports.
Okay.
Like, dude, in Australia, so they have the ABL, which is what I was playing in. There's 6 teams in the league. Mm-hmm. So imagine, in terms of like geography, it'd be like we have Melbourne, Brisbane, Canberra, Adelaide, which are all in like the southeastern coast. So like Florida to like South Carolina, somewhere in there. You know what I mean? Then you have Sydney, which would be up kind of like a little northeastern, not like way up northeastern by the Great Barrier Reef, but like middle. So you're thinking about like the Carolinas. And then you have one team, Perth, which is the northwest. And these players that have played in the ABL, it's only 6 teams, so like they know each other super well. And like you think the talent pool is condensed. So I've been playing against Riley O'Neal since we were, 8 years old, and we got beef. Like every time we play, we got beef. The cool part is that they'll have beef on the field, and after the game, they'll share a beer together. Or like, it's truly like, UFC, like they fight each other and there's mad respect afterwards. Yeah. They kind of share that same respect. But I go over there and we're playing Sydney, and the pitcher that we have is like one of the best like Australian pitchers ever. Never played in the big leagues, but like playing a bunch of WBCs and like just highly respected. Well, he's got beef with this guy on Sydney, whatever. Like,
is he a veteran or is he
he's
like
a vet?
up-and-coming
No,
guy?
he's a vet.
Okay.
He's a vet. Sydney they're known to have a lot of up and coming like players. Like they're a younger team. Melbourne, the team I'm on, is a lot older.
Okay.
But when they like call each other out, like it's not we're just like barking at each other. It's like fist fight. Like there was a full-on fist fight when we were there. I wish we had like a screen where I could show you. Straight up
like
against
bench clearing brawl or
up
something?
Against the wall of the other team's dugout, like holding guys by the neck, throwing fists, like.
So it's like hockey over there.
Yeah, and they've got beat. They've known this guy for like years, and it's like finally this guy got me to the point where we're gonna fight. Germany, when I was there, same deal where they might know a player for a long time. They've like because the talent pool when it's condensed, it's like. Yeah. You're playing against the top players for a certain amount of time, in these events, whatever they may be. Their type of competition is much differently in terms of they're emotional, but they won't do anything about it. Like, they get emotional and they blame the umpire or whatever it may be. Australians, yeah, they'll get mad at the umpire or whatever, but, like, if they get emotional at someone, like, we're going to take care of business. Like, we're actually going to, like, fight about it. And what's funny is that fight happens, no one gets thrown out of the game.
That's crazy.
No one gets thrown out of the game. It's just like the umps are like, all right, like, settle it back down. Yeah. Let's get back on our sides. Germany, it's like there was nothing that was going to be done. And both those scenarios for me is like I don't really have any personal vendettas with any of these guys we're playing against. I don't know who this guy, like, yeah, I'm on my teammate's side, but like, we got our center fielder running in dead sprint past me, and he's looking at the guy he's got beef with, and he's going to, like, choke him up against a wall and, like, throw some haymakers.
What's the talent level like in Australia versus Germany?
Well, Australia, you think about Australia's, you got the USA, then you got Japan, then you got Korea, then you got Mexico, you got the Latin American countries, the Dominican, Venezuela, Cuba, and then I would venture to say probably Australia. So, like, they're quality. It's quality baseball, especially when you play in that league because that's the winter time in America. It's a lot of good, like, our first baseman, we had, I think our first baseman was the only guys that had played in the big leagues. We have like quality players on all the teams, guys that have played at high Division I schools or have played like affiliate level baseball in the States. Germany, not so much. Like the top maybe player or two on each team had played in the States, an affiliate, but for Germany, like just to make it to a junior college over here is like that guy made it.
Yeah.
Like that guy did it. So it's much different. Australia is fun.
Okay, for example, like what was your batting average when you were in Australia?
350.
And then what was your batting average in Germany?
Like 360, like a little higher.
Do you think the pitching was harder in Australia?
Way better.
Okay.
But at the same time, when you're playing in Germany, it's like everywhere you play in Australia is a stadium. You're playing it like I'm used to playing in stadiums.
Sure.
Some of the fields we're playing at in Germany are parks. Like legit, the stands that are at like Hiawatha. You know, like little
That's awesome.
benches.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like we just drove an hour and a half to play at this like park, and we're facing some kid.
How many fans are in attendance?
15, 20. And you're facing some kid that like you wouldn't even face in high school here. So sometimes it was like, all right, this is just kind of like, I signed up for this, but we're beating the team like 13-0. It's like, let's just get out of here.
I was just thinking of when you were on the Monarchs. Michael and I came out, and we were terrorizing that ballpark. There was like a lot of fans there.
That was a good, that's a good amount of fans.
We were doing the beer race.
I
was on the mic.
I would say Australia baseball is pretty similar to the American Association.
That was electric.
The baseball that you saw there. That's about the level of like every pitcher they bring in is like good.
Okay.
You know, Germany they might bring in a kid that like has been a mechanic for the last 10 years and like he just plays baseball.
You got the journeyman.
The journeyman, yeah. So when we played like better competition, it was fun because obviously you get up for competition. Sometimes you're playing guys that are just so bad that it's like, whoa. Because when I signed up to go out there, I knew that it wasn't going to be good competition. I didn't know some of the teams were actually like, I think I could compile you, me, Michael, Nate. We would not finish last in that league.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's like hobby professional baseball. None of the German guys, for the most part.
It's just one tier above, like a men's rec league.
Yeah, pretty much.
Some of these teams.
Yeah, but that's the crazy part is they can bring out a player like me, pay me, fly me out, give me a place to live. Like men's rec league, they're not doing that.
True.
We have like a Mercedes sponsorship. We have a giant facility that's like the size of what we're in right now, a warehouse. But then we'll play a team that's literally like comprised of guys that couldn't play in a high school over
But
here.
when you're in Australia, you said there's 6 teams, so you're just playing the same 6 teams.
The Australia season is now the ABL, the league is like disbanded a bit. That's why we're going to Korea to play. The KBO is paying for us to go over there and like paying for a lot of our hotel rooms, the food, all this stuff, which is cool because in terms of like quality of competition, you have America, Japan, Korea.
Yeah, they're gonna take it
So
seriously.
they know how to treat players in like a nice way, at like a high level.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you're in Australia, it's a 40-game season, I think. So you're playing each team twice away and at home. But even in Australia, you have guys that work day jobs, but they're really good quality players. Like they played in the States in like a Division I.
Wow.
You know. So yeah, it's crazy the different leagues around the world. Italy's supposed to have a good league, but they're supposed to be slimy with like paying guys.
Yeah, leave it to the Italians.
Yeah. Paying guys. The living scenario is supposed to be like super sketchy. You play one more game a week, but the talent level is supposed to be a lot better. You're supposed to get paid a lot more too. I don't know if I'd ever go play in Italy, but yeah, right now we're just focusing on
I think
Korea.
you should just try to play everywhere you can. It's the world tour of baseball.
Yeah,
man.
there are some people who do that, but I don't know. We'll see where it ends up going next. I I didn't know anything about this thing in Korea until they told us. They'd sent us a text and we're like, hey, we left the ABL. Like, the ABL is no longer. And I'm like, dang, like, I wanted to go back out to Australia. And then a month later, they're like, all right, we might have something set up to go to Korea. And you're like, all right, that sounds pretty cool.
I like that. One moment you're going to Australia, next moment you're going to Korea.
Yeah, well, now we're doing both. Korea for a month and then Australia.
Good.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get summertime all the time.
You will.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll come back in November for a couple days, and then go to a wedding, and then go to Australia, I think for like 3 months. That'll be February. So that'll be right around the time you'll be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be gone by then. So I don't know when I'll see you again.
I'll be back July 2026.
I don't know where I'll be then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the last time I saw you, that's what we were talking about was...
that was right before I went to Thailand for a month.
Yeah, that was March.
Which,
Yeah.
Thailand, I mean, insanity.
Yeah, it's chaos.
Not even in, like, the way that I think a lot of tourists like to go to Thailand and, like, you know, you have a lot of purchasing power. You can go around Bangkok. It's, like, crazy. There's crazy bars. There's chicks everywhere. I'm talking, like, out in the middle of nowhere in the countryside in Thailand. We're, like, hitchhiking around and taking mopeds.
Uh-huh.
And you're, like, it's insanity in the sense that it's massively, massively different than the U.S. And I went all in on the street food. You know, never got sick, actually.
I was going to ask you
No,
that.
actually, well,
I also think a lot of that...
I'll caveat that. I never got, like, sick to the point where I was, like, in bed all day. There was days that I definitely had bad days, and I was on the toilet more times than I wanted to be.
Well, that's the thing in Bali, too, is everyone's like, be careful for Bali belly, this and that. So, like, yeah, when I'm taking a shower, I'm keeping my mouth closed. I'm, like, being conscious of the water and where it's hitting me. But with the food, I think a lot of it comes down to your immune system.
Sure.
So, like, are you healthy going into it? Like, have you taken on certain bacteria before that your body is, like, not, you know, eat some, like, street meat and you just, like, your body's just in disarray? Well, you probably, like, are someone who gets sick a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like when I'm hunting, this may come back to bite me, but oftentimes I don't even filter my water. If I'm at an alpine lake that's above 5,000 or 6,000 feet and I can see that there's not a ton of human activity around, like campsites, or, you know, you may know that there might be a bear or two rummaging around in the berry fields up above, but, like, there's not a bunch of animals, there's not a bunch of people. I'll just scoop water right out of the lake and drink it as long as it has an inflow and outflow and
it's moving.
Or, you know, glacier water. And then, like, when we were elk hunting in the Cascades, there's so many springs. And I won't pull water out of, like, the bottom of a river, but if I'm up high and I can see clear as day, I mean, this water's flowing out of, like, a hillside that I can see to the top of the hillside, I'll drink that water all day long.
Yeah, call me crazy. I think that's good for you.
I've never gotten sick doing that. I think that the risk of waterborne illness is probably overstated. Like, when you're swimming in Lake Washington, you're getting water in your mouth constantly. You're ingesting water.
I went swimming the other day, and this guy's putting down these posts. And I go swimming out in the lake, and I come back, and this guy's nailing down the posts. And I'm like, I wonder what he's putting down. It's like, please don't swim. A lot of bacteria in the water. This and that. I was like, well, I already did it. I felt fine.
A lot of bacteria.
Like poop in the water. That's what it said. But
Where is this?
That was Madison Park.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, like geese poop and stuff like that. But, I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, your body's got to take on bacteria in order to see that it can fight it off. You know?
So,
that's why I love going in the ocean. You feel sick. Whenever I feel not great and we go in the ocean and you just go swim around for a few minutes and you get that salt water in your pores and you're getting like all the micronutrients from the water, and yeah, you're taking some in, you're like not drinking it on purpose, but like, have you ever noticed when you go in the ocean how clear your nose gets afterwards?
Sure.
I always notice my nose clears out. I don't know, I think you can find the remedies in nature.
We've been trying to get like a kind of regenerative thing going at the ranch, and we're going to get one of those saunas. Like the 1 or 2 person saunas that you plug into the wall, they're electric.
So you get infrared or no?
Yeah, infrared sauna.
Infrared doesn't get as hot.
I think, have you been to Banya?
Yeah.
That sauna's 230 degrees.
Yeah. And that's
I
got
want a
multiple
sauna
levels.
like that.
That's what every time I've been in an infrared sauna, like I'll go to some facilities. There's a place in West Seattle now called
I've been there.
Space Bar.
Yeah, you go. There's a cold plunge sauna.
Did you go out back?
No.
You went in one of the rooms.
Yeah.
So it was an infrared sauna.
Yeah.
They only get up to like 140
Yeah.
degrees. And yeah, it's different. Like, it's hitting your cells different with like red light and all that and like inflammation. But something about like an old Danish sauna or Finnish sauna where it's like you're pouring water on it and like
Yeah.
really, that was one thing in Germany. Every hotel got a sauna. Everywhere.
Really.
Everywhere's got a sauna. Yeah. Sick. Dang, you guys are going to put one in at the ranch.
And then obviously we have a cold plunge, just a stock tank, and
Oh, yeah.
half the year when you wake up in the morning, there's going to be like a layer of ice on the
Cut
top.
some ice
you know
down
what I
on that
mean?
thing.
So the combo, like I love cold plunging, but sometimes you find it hard to get your body back up to temperature afterward, and you'll start the day like if you do a long cold plunge, like 6, maybe 10 minutes. It'll take you a while before you like feel warm again. If you can alternate cold plunge sauna, that's the best feeling on earth.
That is the best. Yeah, you go from, I like going from the ocean straight to the West Seattle Health Club sauna.
Yeah.
I walk in there with sand on my feet. Everyone's looking at me like I'm nuts, but it feels so good.
We've done that a few times.
Yeah. That's why the Space Bar is cool, because that's kind of the only place other than Banya 5 that you can go like, when you're going back and forth between cold and sauna, you can go for like an hour,
And you
hour
can
and a half
go for
of just
longer in each one, respectively.
Way
like you're
so.
cold as hell. You go in the sauna at Banya. It's 230 degrees. Normally, you'd only make it a few minutes.
You
and
can
then
do like
you
10,
sit in
15
there
minutes.
for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're at the point of like heat exhaustion, and then you just stumble your way out into the cold plunge and just right back to where you were before. Yeah, that place is sweet. It's pretty expensive though.
Yeah, it is pretty expensive, but I mean they keep it clean. It's like a nice bathhouse. They didn't have any cold stuff in Europe while I was there, but most every hotel you go to, we went to some hotels that had multiple saunas, and I don't know, it's obviously nice. But the sauna's sick. Another way, you feel sick and you go in a sauna, you're gonna feel better. You're gonna sweat out all that bad shit that's in you, rather than taking like crazy antibiotics and stuff. But yeah, what about so you did scuba diving school and you did airborne school,
Yep,
right?
airborne.
Just talk to me about the differences.
I personally think scuba diving is terrifying. When we dive, we're doing a lot of diving at night. So it's a whole different feeling than going down in Bali and going 20 feet underwater. And you can see, and there's other people around, and there's fish swimming by. When you're diving at night,
You can see for like hundreds of feet.
when you're diving at night, we go down and we do something where it's like, drop you off here, you're swimming to this location underwater, and you have an hour to do it. So you get in the water, get down to your depth, whatever it is, 20 feet, right? And you got a compass, a stopwatch, and a depth gauge on a little board. That's all you got. And then you start kicking. And you kick and kick and kick, and you're like staring at your compass, trying to hold whatever direction it is that you're going. And you're counting your kicks or for your distance, or you're possibly going off of time. Maybe you go a certain distance in a certain amount of time, so you can calculate how long it should take you. But you're going, completely pitch black. So you're in your own head a little bit because there's no external stimulus, and you're just looking at a compass.
Solo or in a group normally?
In a group. There'll be one guy on the compass, and then one guy usually just following you if you're doing a pair.
Is it all hand signals with communication?
Yeah, so there's no verbal communication. And it's funny because you'll be kicking, you'll feel like 10, 20 minutes, you'll look at the timer, it'll be like 2 minutes have passed, and you're like, oh my God. So just kick. I mean, it's like going on a run with your eyes closed for an hour. You know what I mean? It's a weird feeling, especially considering if you went on a run with your eyes closed, you have completely no idea where you're at, but you're supposed to just go in the right direction, So it's claustrophobic, it's sketchy. If something happens, I mean, people do die. You get your respirator knocked out and your rig fills with water because it's not open circuit diving where there's a tank full of air and then it goes through a hose into your regulator and you breathe, it's closed circuit. So as you exhale, the air circulates into a bag, and it goes through a scrubber that takes the carbon dioxide out of the air.
And you're getting oxygen
and then
again.
you breathe back in again. So you just keep breathing in a loop. And I'd say it's very similar to holding a plastic bag to your mouth and just breathing in and out through a plastic bag, except magically the plastic bag is filtering out the CO2.
So at first, was it hard to regulate your breathing
Yeah.
pattern in terms of not wanting to like take big?
That's a big thing, because if you start to breathe in too fast, you're not giving the scrubber enough time
Yeah,
to take the CO2
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And so you start breathing faster and faster, but you're getting less oxygen.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a downward spiral.
Yeah, it's a reverse
and so you have to
effect.
stay calm. And it's super claustrophobic because you breathe through a bag, and there's like some drag. It's not free flowing. Like you're pushing the air through the scrubber, you're pulling it out of the bag through these hoses. So that's super shitty. And it's dark. And if something happens, it's not like, oh, I just like grab my manifold, trace the airline to
And
my
it's all
regulator.
mouth breathing, anyways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and you're kicking so hard, your goggles are fogged up, and there's sweat like pooling up at the bottom of your goggles until it gets to your eye level. Then you have to drain it and blow some air and fill them back up with air. So it's pretty uncomfortable. Whereas jumping out of planes, which isn't anything super fancy. I mean, a lot of people in the Army do that. It's just a way quicker experience. It's like you're in the plane, in the helicopter, you're flying by, and it's weird because you're low to the ground. You're not much higher than the Space Needle when you're jumping out.
Oh, really?
So you can see cars, people, kids walking to school, and you're like, oh man. And
Totally different experience from being like blind in the water to now you
exactly.
can actually see everything.
You can see everything, but I think when you're like recreational skydiving, don't get me wrong, super scary, adrenaline rush, you're way up in the sky. But you're almost so high up that the ground is like disassociated, right? But when you're just above the height of the Space Needle, it's like, oh my gosh, like the ground's right, like it's like a base jump. And you launch out of that plane, wind hits you, parachute goes, and it's just like from intense noise and chaos, and then poof, parachute's open, you're like floating around, looking around like, oh cool, there's Jimmy, there's John, and like we're floating down, like sweet, like maybe pull your phone out, snap a picture or something, for your friends, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, the ground's coming up quick. And this isn't some like paraglider skydiving parachute where you can like glide in real carefully and like pull it at the very end and feather it out and land like an airplane. You're going down like a freaking dart, and you just have a circular parachute above you. And depending on the wind, you hit the ground pretty freaking hard. I would say it would be about the equivalent of jumping off of like the top of that batting cage. That's how hard you hit the ground.
Really?
Yeah, it's violent.
Wow. That's
So
like,
a lot of dudes,
that's like 25 feet.
a lot of dudes get busted up pretty good.
I can imagine.
And when I was in air warden school, one of my friends, actually, it was like our last jump. I think you do 5 jumps while you're there. This guy's sitting right next to me. Like, he's from the Air Force, cool guy, PJ, like badass dude. Last jump, like fist bumps, all right, here we go. We jump out of the plane, jump out, and my parachute opens, good to go. I look, like to my left, the other kid's up there, he's floating above me, and then I look, and this dude is going at the ground like a lawn dart. His parachute only opened, like it didn't open fully, it opened, and it was like shaped like a condom. Like it was like a long cylinder that was only probably open like 3 or 4 feet right above his head. I'm like, oh shit. So I hear the people on the ground are like, pull your reserve, which is like this little backup parachute. He pulls his reserve, and I guess he maybe doesn't throw it out far enough or whatever the case is. It just goes right into his other parachute. So now he has like 2 fucked parachutes above his head, and he's going to the ground pad. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's gonna die. He hit the ground like a freaking rock and broke his pelvis, like completely fucked up.
Oh, bro.
And they had like an ambulance, like they saw him, and like the ambulance was already on the way. Like by the time I hit the ground, like he was already basically getting loaded up and rolling out of there.
Wow.
So it's definitely like a real risk with, I mean, diving or jumping is a risk. The difference is like, The weird part about diving is when you're underwater, you can't just go to the surface because you're dealing with compressed air. And if you bolt to the surface, you could get a gas embolism. There's a ton of dive injuries you can get. I mean, if you don't exhale properly, your lungs could literally blow up. So you're kind of trapped underwater, and whatever problem you have, you're going to have to figure it out down there. Same way with if you're in the air, if you have a problem with your parachute, whatever the case is, you got to figure it out before you hit the ground. You know what I mean? So you still are on a timer. The difference is in the air, you're on a timer before you hit the ground. Underwater, you're on a timer of how long can you hold your breath. Which it sounds like, okay, I can hold my breath a long time, you know, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, if you really have a good breath hold. But when you're kicking, you're working hard, and you're like panting, then all of a sudden something goes wrong, and it's dark, and it's becomes a lot harder to get shit done underwater. And you're tethered to your buddies. So if it's one guy, 6 guys, you all have a line that's tethered to your kit so you don't split off and get lost. And so even if you wanted to go to the surface, then you'd be fucking around with like some sort of tether system, like with a quick release, and that's hard to do in the dark. So there's definitely like a real, I think it'd be better to just be in the air and your parachute doesn't open and you just hit the ground like a dart than like die underwater panicking and fighting for your life, you know?
Much slower.
Yeah, a little more sketchy. However, I've passed out underwater, and it's a pretty peaceful experience in my opinion.
Okay.
One time I tried to swim. If you go in a pool, standard pool, and you go down and back, that's 50 meters. So that's a normal.
Like the health club.
Yeah. So I've done that many times.
Underwater, down and
Down and back.
Yeah.
One day, some friends and I, we tried to do 75 meters underwater.
Down. 75 meters.
Underwater. So down, back, and then down again.
In terms of depth going.
No, in the pool.
Oh, okay.
So
I see what you're
down,
saying.
back, down again.
Yeah.
Down the pool. And I made it down and back like I normally do, and I kick off the wall, and I make it about 3/4 of the way to the other side, and I'm like really wanting air. You know, you're like, you get that kind of like reflex in your lungs. We were kind of hiccuping, gasping for air. And I just remember like one pull of the water, and I'm like, I might make it, and then it's like I lose motor function. Like my arms and my legs just like stop properly working, and I'm like, oh no. And at this point, I realize like I'm toast, and I try to like pull up and go to the surface, and I don't even like have the ability to do that. Like I just like start kind of like, that's all I remember. It was like my arms aren't working, and then I'm
How long were you out for?
I don't know.
Someone dragged you out?
Someone dragged me out of the pool. I woke up on the side, and it was a weird experience because I remember when I woke up, I'm looking around, and I'm like, I don't recognize anyone. Like imagine seeing someone that you've known your whole life or for at least a long time, and you don't know them at all. Like you've never seen that person before. I don't know I'm looking at like, I don't have any idea who these people are, what I'm doing, who I am. And then all of a sudden it like came back to me almost all at once. Like it was like,
that's nuts.
Like I'm trying to be a diver, and these people are like my friends.
Like
and like, and like I know who they are, but like a second ago I had no idea who they are, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah, you got taken out of the little like realm that you were in, and then like tossed right back in.
Yeah, so then it's almost like a weird dream. It's like you're outside of the dream, and then it's like, oh yeah, like I'm resuming what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, like your ego comes back. You're like, I have these goals, and like I'm trying to be a tough guy, and like I was trying to push myself, and I must have passed out in the water, and like, oh that's right, like we're all in the water together, and like this shit. And it's definitely a funny thing because then everyone else is just like carry on, they're working out, they're doing their thing, and then you're sitting there like you just have this like crazy experience, and you're sitting on the side of the pool like, oh my god, like should I rethink my whole life?
Yeah,
and then
who
it's like,
am I?
all right, like we got shit to do, like get right back to it. And so it's funny, I've dragged probably 6 or 7 people out of a pool unconscious just from being underwater. A lot of times trying to swim down and back will get you because it's really hard to hold your breath till you pass out. But if you have a goal, and this goes with life in general, like if you're just trying to hold your breath for as long as you can, it's hard to hold your breath till you pass out. But if you have a goal to swim to the other side of the pool, and your body's telling you got to breathe, but you're getting like, if I just do 3 or 4 more strokes, I can make it over there.
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to hold your breath till you pass out. Then you get 2 more strokes, you're like, I'm 20 feet away, 10 feet away. I just need to hold on a little bit longer, 1 more stroke. And that's when guys pass out, because you have this like objective that's just barely out of reach. So, or if they're, another one is if they're tying knots or something underwater, you swim down, you tie a knot, you come up, you untie it, and the knots get more difficult. When you're tying knots, people will pass out doing that underwater, because they'll be like trying to tie the knot, their motor function slowly they're losing motor function, their hands aren't working, and
Not as much
their
oxygen
brain isn't working as efficiently as it should. So I'm sitting there like, dude, like, do you have mental problems? But this guy's, of course, trying his hardest, but his brain's starved of oxygen, his hands aren't cooperating, and it's like just tying a regular like granny knot would be hard, and you're underwater trying to tie bowlines and stuff like that. And so guys will be tying a knot, and I'll be sitting there, watching as a supervisor or whatever, safety swimmer, and next thing you know, they'll be tying, they'll just go, oh, and they'll just like go limp and sink to the bottom, like, oh shit. So you just grab them, pull them to the top, and it's funny because you see him like slap him a couple times in the face. He wakes up, he's like looking around, like he doesn't.
But they're having that same.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know where you're at, man. It's a weird feeling. I've been there before.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's definitely an interesting.
Yeah, it's like waking up
experience.
from a dream sometimes. You're like, did that just
Totally.
happen? Where am I? What? The only time I've ever felt somewhat like that is traveling so much in pro ball. There would be times where I'd wake up in a hotel and I would forget like
Sure.
almost who I was and where I was. And then all of a sudden, the craziest part is you usually have a roommate. So you wake up and you see this person sleeping in the bed, and
Yep.
It only happened to me a couple times, but I wake up and be like, who the fuck, what state am I? This isn't dang, we're in Midland, Texas playing baseball right now. And then you like come back to and you're like, oh, okay.
Traveling a lot will do that to you. I've had that same experience, especially when you're getting run down, you're tired, you've been dealing with like stresses, maybe it's driving, maybe it's whatever the case is, and you're just trying to get to the end of the day, and you finally get to the end of the day and you just hit the bed, you have like a crazy dream or whatever, and you wake up, and I've had that exact same experience where you wake up and you're like, you forget where you're even at.
You literally forget where you're at. You're like, and it takes you a second, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, okay, I gotta come back. But the underwater training you were talking about made me think of, I was listening to Rickson Gracie, and he said that he kind of changed my perspective on like cold tubs and stuff, because he talked about like, I don't do it for any health benefits, I do it for like spiritual benefits. I was like, huh, interesting. And so he was talking about how he would take a straw and breathe with a straw under the water until he could regulate his breathing.
That's crazy.
So then I started going in the cold tub in Germany, and I would lay under there in the ice, and I'd have a glass straw. And so that feeling that you're talking about of, you're cycling the oxygen through and the carbon dioxide, so you really have to pace out your breath. And if you start like, it's so much harder to like get it back. And I'd have this straw, and I'd be sitting there, and I'd only go until like I could get 6, 7, 8 like normal breaths, and you're like, okay, like I'm good, and then you get out. And it would either be my tongue would get in the way of the straw, so you're breathing, I'd practice with like closing my eyes and just seeing if I could like, and you really got to pace it out, because same thing, you're really pulling the air in with the circumference of the straw. It's not like you're in this field of oxygen.
Yeah, there's a lot of resistance.
Yeah. So you'd start to get the pace. All of a sudden, your tongue gets in the way of the straw, and you're like, and then same thing. The top of the water is like 3 inches from your eyes. Like it's right there, but it's the spiritual battle of like, okay, no, I'm gonna stay under here. I'm gonna try to regulate myself again. And so the only way I could like find any familiarity with what you're talking about and that feeling is like taking the straw and being like so, dude, you have to be so patient. So what would you say like you learned about yourself from the water and then you learned about yourself from the air?
The air, not much. It's like you're up there, everyone else is jumping, you're jumping too. These guys aren't tougher than you, they're not any different than you, everyone's doing it. The air is just, you say a little prayer and you freaking force your body to do it. The water is more of a mental battle because it's extended periods of stress. And if you stay stressed out and your heart rate is high, you're burning a ton of oxygen.
Oh, yeah.
So all these things that you're doing underwater, and they're all stressful events, whether it be tying knots, swimming down and forth under the water, addressing issues with your scuba gear that, in a timely manner that allows you to get oxygen again and breathe. All of it's designed to stress you out, because all of it, you're taking away your air, and you can't go to the surface. You have to complete the task before you go to the surface.
And you have this, like, I have to imagine you have this heightened pressure around your body from the water.
Yeah, I mean, you feel
It's
feel
condensing.
claustrophobic,
It's
yep.
condensing you. Yeah.
But the main thing is you don't have the option going to the surface. That would be considered like quitting, and you'd fail, you know. So your options are complete the task underwater or pass out underwater. And that puts you into this like kind of like fight or flight mentality, which is not the mentality you want to be in. That fight or flight mentality, you're stressed, your heart rate's high, you're trying to power your way through problems.
You're also breathing through your mouth, which is heightening your like sympathetic nervous system.
So it's extremely difficult, but it's necessary to learn to calm yourself down really fast. Like, for example, the swimming down and back underwater is a super easy example, or tying knots underwater. You get to a point where, you know, you're going down, it's pretty easy, you're just sticking with your form. You come back and you're like, you start to want to book it and swim really hard. But the reward isn't worth it. You're gonna burn way more oxygen and way more energy output trying to swim a little bit faster and get to the other side. And you have to calm yourself down and say, just stick with your rhythm. And just, sometimes I'd count, sometimes I just try to, you know, get into that flow state, but you're doing your stroke, and you have to, a key part is that you have to glide. So you pull your arms down and you're gliding. Your instinct is like, swim faster, go right back to the next stroke, just stroke, stroke, stroke. Well, the more strokes you do, the more energy you're burning, but it's really difficult to glide when you have an immense urge to breathe, because the gliding is like a relaxation phase of your stroke. And so you have to allow, your mind has to allow your body to relax. If your body doesn't relax, like if you're tying knots and you're tense, you're burning way more oxygen. And it's a weird thing. At first, you might only have that breakthrough now and then. You feel your body tense, and you go, okay, relax. And then you're like, okay, I'm relaxed. Tie the knot. Over time, you start to make that breakthrough earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yeah, it's a skill.
You go down and it's time to tie the knot. So the first thing you do is relax your body, and then you address the problem. And so I think that is easy to forget, but it's a lesson that you can carry over to like all parts of life, is whenever you encounter an issue or a problem that maybe is associated with a high degree of stress, whether it be like you're driving and there's some chaos in the road, or, you know, that someone's having like a medical issue and you have to, whatever it may be in your life, it's imperative that the first step before doing anything else reactionary is relax and then address the problem. And it only takes 1 second of conscious thought to relax your body. But it's something that you overlook. Like you go underwater, you're trying to tie a knot. The first thing you do is tie the knot, untie the knot. You don't think about relaxing until like sometimes you're done. You're like, man, I am tense. So it's a lesson that I try to carry with me, and it's that like the first step. It's breathing. You know, you can just take a breath, relax, and then address the problem. It's always going to be a faster solution in the end.
Yeah, I was talking to I don't think you've ever met my buddy Brett, but we were talking about swimming in the open ocean, how much different it is than swimming in like a lake.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was really talking about like if you're swimming in the open ocean, because he does it quite a bit, and you're not in the right mental state, one, you have to be respectful of yourself and the ocean and be like, I'm not in the right state to be taking on this like force right now. So maybe you just like, he's not like doing it out of like regiment. So sometimes he might get out in the ocean and be like, not today. Like, I'm not in the right state to go out into this place where like I can handle, you know, the power of the ocean. And so,
it's easy to get panicky. It's easy to like.
That's exactly
you
what
get
we were
panicky,
talking about.
You start working too hard, and the waves are throwing you off, so you're not in a rhythm like you are in a pool.
Dude, we went out. The longest I've ever swam out in an ocean was we were in Portugal, and there was this little cove, and there was like this rock formation that went around the inlet of this like ocean. So you had this little bay where you could just everyone was hanging out, and like it was so cool. And then there's a little opening to where you can dive out. Basically, the top of the cave is 4 or 5 feet from the water top. So like you basically have to go under the whole way, and then you get out, and then it's the ocean, like the straight up ocean. And there was this big rock formation. I don't even know how far out it was, but the guy I was with was like, let's go. I was like, all right. And at first, you know, you're in the ocean, you're like paddling super fast, and you're like, dude, I can't keep up this pace. And so you really have to learn with the current, like you're talking about, like the glide phase of like, that's the biggest thing I take away from swimming in the ocean is like you learn like patience.
You can
like,
get exhausted in like 1 minute.
You are not going to
1 minute will go-
overpower this force that is like taking you.
I mean, it's similar to surfing. If you surf and you're trying to get past the surf on your surfboard, you might fight really hard and get nowhere, and you're exhausted. So also, it's like knowing when to apply the force.
Well, same thing. You see a boat crossing, and you're like, okay, in a few minutes there's going to be this wake, and I need to go under when the wake comes, or like it's super clear right now, so I can up my pace just a touch. But it's forces outside yourself. But yeah, the straw was really eye-opening because I can go in a cold tub and just sit there for as long as I want, really now. So it's kind of like
that's the next level. Because
when I heard him talking about it,
have a hard time controlling their breathing, just going in the cold tub.
Exactly.
They get in there, they're panting, they're breathing really rapidly, their body's tense, they're shaking, and then some people, oh, here we go.
What up?
Haven't seen you in a while.
We can cut it right there.
So that's the next level.
That was an hour 20.